So, a lot of people have been talking about this thing. It is a menstrual cup. As you can see here in this graph, menstrual cups have not really been a popular thing until late 2020, which was really in the heart of the pandemic. And around that time, menstrual cups exploded, at least as a search term on Google. Brands like Keeper Cup, Moon Cup, Lunette, Salt, Diva Cup, so many different brands started popping up in the last few years. If you look at the Amazon reviews for these products, it's filled with positive reviews that say things like, man, I wish I could have started this earlier. This is such a game changer, makes periods so much easier. I don't have to buy pads and tampons as much anymore. But understandably, you might be skeptical because putting this up in your vagina is definitely not appealing to everyone. In this video, we're gonna really get into the pros and cons of using a menstrual cup. Is it really as environmentally friendly as people say? Is it really as easy as people say? And how much money do you really save using this thing? Hey everybody, my name is Joyce. In this channel, I talk about how to stay happy and healthy while working and living on the go. Make sure to hit that thumbs up so YouTube knows that you're getting all the good stuff from it. Anyway, menstrual cups. There's lots of different variations. Most menstrual cups nowadays look like this. So you'll see that although there's a lot of different variations, they generally have this shape where it looks like a cup. There's a tail that comes out the bottom. There's usually some ridges so that you can get a good grip when you're trying to take it out. And then there are these holes around the edge of the cup that allow it to depressurize when you're trying to remove the seal from inside of your uterus. Because it's made out of this medical grade silicone, it's super flexible, it's really soft. I would recommend that you experiment different types of cups because this one that I got is a lot softer. But I will say a stiffer cup helps you, especially if you are a beginner, to actually get it in the right place. So you might want to start with a stiffer cup and kind of progress to a softer cup as you get more used to putting it in and taking it out. They teach you to fold it in different shapes. So you can fold it in like a C shape, or sometimes it's like a W shape that allows you to have it small enough so that you can actually put it in. When it gets in, it pops open and creates a seal around the bottom of your uterus. That's how it catches your period blood as it comes out. So menstrual cups have actually been around for a while, even though they're only just getting popular. When I did my research, I found that the prototypes of menstrual cups were actually created as early as the 1860s and 1870s. And then it was called catamenial sacks. It was actually really weird. They would wear belts attached to the cup itself. It looks really interesting. And then it wasn't until the early 1930s that the first menstrual cup that actually went to market was patented by an actress named Leona Chalmers. The original menstrual cup was made out of latex rubber. When medical grade silicone became a thing, that's really when it became much more popularized because there were a variety of reasons that women were really hesitant to use these things. Reasons like if they were religious, they found it kind of offensive to put something inside of them, and other women were just grossed out by the concept of having to clean the cup. You know, a lot of people just wanted to use a tampon and a pad and dispose of it. Those are all really valid concerns, and some of them are still valid concerns today. But when medical grade silicone became the primary material to use the menstrual cup, they also started redesigning it to be modern, including the fact that many of them have smooth insides and it's super easy to rinse out and clean, just much more comfortable and a lot more hygienic. So let's first cover the pros. Why would you switch to the menstrual cup? So the first thing is cost. There was a study done recently that showed that women spend anywhere from $13 to $20 on menstrual products every single month. Throughout the course of their life, this adds up to $6,000 to $8,000. And for a lot of women, that's kind of an underestimate. On the other hand, A menstrual cup only costs about $30 to purchase, and ideally, you could use this for the rest of your life. And I say ideally because in my own experience, I've actually purchased probably 3 or 4 at this point, mostly because some of them didn't fit, some of them I couldn't figure out how to work. And so if you're somebody who just gets lucky on your first try and it fits for you on your first try, maybe that price equation works for you. But ultimately, it still probably doesn't add up to $6,000 over the course of your lifetime. A product like this is really important in a time where so many women may have struggled with something called period poverty. A recent study has shown that 79% have made sacrifices or gone with less just so that they could afford their period products. And as a necessity, that's pretty crazy to think about. Women have to actually save up and budget just so that they can buy these products that they actually need every single month. And in theory, you buy it once and you never have to buy another one again. Another pro is that they're environmentally friendly. Because they're reusable, you're not generating waste every time you're on your period. According to several studies, it shows that one menstrual cup produces an estimated 0.4% of the plastic waste that single-use pads build up, or 6% of that created by tampons in the span of 10 years. The general consensus is that using these cups will help you reduce your environmental impact, but not everybody is convinced that it is environmentally better than using pads or tampons. So it's worth taking a note of, because a lot of these companies, they may push kind of this propaganda that it is more environmentally friendly, but we don't know, especially the process of actually creating these, similar to electric cars, might actually take a bigger toll on the environment than in paper products. I don't know, I kind of doubt it, but it's good to go in knowing that it may not actually be the case. Another advantage is that menstrual cups can hold up to 3 times more than a regular tampon. And so this means you can keep it in much longer than a tampon. I've left mine in, usually for the more than the recommended amount of time, which is 12 hours. They say you can leave it up safely 12 hours. Oftentimes when I'm camping, this may be really gross, but I've kept it in for sometimes 2 to 3 days at a time. And I could be confident knowing that this was made out of medical grade silicone and that my body wouldn't react negatively to it. Tampons have long been known to create cases of toxic shock syndrome. That's not something that's been heard of with the menstrual cup. It's also just more hygienic in general because it's made out of silicone. You're more prone to introduce bacteria from your hands rather than from the cup itself. So, as a recap, all of the pros include is that it's cheaper, it's more environmentally friendly, it can hold more than a tampon or a pad, so you don't have to change it out as frequently, it's more comfortable, you don't have to sit in a wet pad all day long, and it's also more hygienic than traditional pads and tampons. However, there are also some cons that are definitely worth mentioning. It starts with the fact that it is a huge learning curve to use this. For some of the lucky people who have tried this and on their first try, they got it to work, congrats to them, but that was definitely not the case for me. And it's definitely not the case for many of the reviews that I saw on Amazon. It definitely required lots of time. I think at the beginning it took me 30 minutes to make sure that it was positioned correctly, and then it took another 30 minutes at the end of the day to try and get it out. And there were a lot of times where I started panicking because I couldn't get it out. Even now, when I've gotten more comfortable with it, it can still take a while to get it out. And the biggest thing I've learned is just to not panic. And if it doesn't come out now, I try again in like an hour or a few hours, because usually my uterus has shifted throughout the day and then it becomes easier to take out. In general, you might be losing some time and energy just learning how to do it, but if you can get over that initial hump, it does become a lot easier. Although for a lot of women and these menstrual cup companies claim that it doesn't leak, it always leaks for me, and maybe it's because I leave it in too long, or if you switch it out more frequently, it doesn't leak. But for me, I usually actually have to double up with a pad anyway. And that seems to kind of defeat the purpose of never having to use a pad again. I do sometimes double up with menstrual underwear, and that completely becomes a completely reusable option. It's also kind of inconvenient to switch out sometimes because I'm usually on the go, if I'm staying at a friend's place, or if I'm out in the city. It's not as easy as just like, oh, take it out and dump it out. Every time I take it out, it's super messy, and so I have to be in the shower in order to clean off. Although I wished it would be as easy as just, oh, take it out, dump it, and rinse it off and put it straight back in. It's usually not that easy. Also, there are some cases in which a menstrual cup is not suitable for you. If you've recently given birth, if you've recently had an abortion, or if you've had some sort of vaginal surgery, the experts say that you shouldn't be using a menstrual cup. Also, I consider this a con, but when you're wearing this, it's also kind of less spontaneous, especially if you have a partner or if you want to be able to feel free to, let's see, how do I say this? So recap of the cons. Although these companies like to paint this idealistic picture, using these cups and being super free and spontaneous and never having to buy a pad or tampon again, I found that in my experience that is not true. I do buy pads at a slower rate. More often than not, the menstrual cup is just one extra tool in my tool belt. But for a lot of people, the menstrual cup is a lot more convenient. It does help them save money, and it is just more comfortable. However, it does take some experimentation to figure out what works for you, and you have to weigh whether or not it's worth it for you after all of the cons that may come with it.